Welcome to the Real True American Patriot. We are reclaiming patriotism from the far right, who appropriated it for their own narrow nationalist interests. Just in time for the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Republic. The latest tranche of the Epstein files that the Justice Department jettisoned in January is a disorganized mess, the wreckage of a man's life. Perhaps they would be better characterized as flotsam and jetsam. Picking through the debris, one finds references in the index to 4 interviews which the FBI conducted in 2019 with a woman who claimed that she had been sexually assaulted by not only Epstein, but on 3 occasions, Trump, when she was a minor. And when I say minor, I mean 13 years old. But only one summary of one of the 4 interviews was actually released. The other 3 were missing. After an uproar, the final 3 records were released in early March. Though it isn't referred to as such anymore, this is the story of Katie Johnson, an alias whose true identity is known only to her lawyers. There was actually a YouTube video from around 2019 when she was approaching 50 years of age, in which, her face obscured and seeming to wear a wig, she tells her story. A likable person, Katie speaks in a down-to-earth fashion with occasional pauses after recounting something especially horrible to presumably collect herself. You have probably read about her allegations. No reason to force our viewers, not to mention me, to relive those horrors. The first obstacle Katie's story needed to overcome to achieve credibility is that supposedly Epstein and Trump weren't introduced until 1988. That's 5 years after she alleges the crimes were committed. Katie was represented by top lawyers, one of whom was recently asked via email by dogged Epstein reporter Tara Palmieri about the case. He said that, at the time, his team was champing at the bit to proceed with the case until it was stopped dead in its tracks. No, not by the date issue. His eagerness to file suggests that the lawyers somehow reconciled the time discrepancy. If true, game-changing. Suddenly, partly because of the Justice Department's attempts to keep it from the public, mainstream reporters are turning to the Katie Johnson story. For instance, last week, a couple of weeks ago, using public records, the Charleston, North Carolina Post and Courier verified much of her backstory with Epstein, which originated on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. Not to be insensitive, but purely as a narrative, it is as riveting as it is tragic. This includes the sad tale of her mother, who worked for a company that rented homes long term. One of her clients was Jeffrey Epstein, whom she subsequently hired to babysit Katie. Yikes, talk about letting the fox into the henhouse. An important contribution to Epstein lore. The article is behind a paywall, but you can read it free on the Workaround website archived today. The extent to which the article matches the story Katie herself told is remarkable. Then why didn't her legal case ever get out of the starting blocks? Subjected to threats, Katie called it off just days before she was set to appear before court. Who can blame her? The article and the story she told on YouTube outline how Epstein's predations basically wrecked her life. She needed to worry about her safety on top of that? I mean, who or what agency could she have turned to as a long-time refuge? Even Republican congresspersons shy away from calling out Trump because, aside from concerns about their careers, they fear his MAGA minions might come after them and their families, as with Katie. In Katie's case, the threats might have originated with those close to Trump, or even Trump himself. But he's not capable of issuing orders like a mob boss, is he? Leave us explore that a little further. The other reason behind the timeline discrepancy that the Katie Johnson story may not have gained traction is that, along with verbal abuse and sexual assault, she accuses him of committing violence against her. Bad as he is, many think, Trump would never have done anything like that. We all know that Trump is incapable of running a country, but do we really know what he is capable of? What makes it difficult to believe he raped and struck a middle school girl, especially in his wilder younger days? I mean, this is the guy who was accused of sexual assault by more than 24 women. And of course, in the E. Jean Carroll civil suit, a jury found him liable for sexual abuse. And I would make the case that the reluctance to believe Trump would do what Katie Johnston accused him of is tantamount to saying it's exaggerated and irrational to think that a wife beater could graduate to murder. I'm going to have to repeat that. I would make the case that reluctance to believe Trump would do what Katie Johnson accused him of is tantamount to saying it's exaggerated and irrational to think that a wife beater could graduate to murder. When all is said and done, the Katie Johnson story is the beating heart of the Epstein Files. The noose tightens.